وسهلا بكل الذين ينضموا للاستماع إلى راديو بلدي أول راديو عربي أمريكي ويعنى بقضايا العرب في المهجر. برامجنا في راديو بلدي كل يوم جمعة من 8 وحتى 9 صباحا في بث حي ومباشر عبر WNZK راديو 690 AM. صباح الخير بلدي، صباح الخير لكل مستمعينا.
Welcome to Radio Baladi, the first Arab, Middle Eastern, and American simulcast radio show. Radio Baladi is broadcast every Friday morning on WNZK 690 AM from 8 until 9 Eastern Time on Good Morning, Michigan. Our call-in number 248-557-3300. And now, stay tuned for the best radio talk show on Arab and American issues.
Good morning and thank you for being with us. This is Khalil Hachem with US Arab Radio. Happy Friday. Thank you for listening. President Trump, as you well know, imposed tariffs on more than 60 countries, sending or plunging rather stocks to the lowest level in years, even though some of them have recovered it a bit, but still it was a really dramatic day on Wall Street. Also, we are dealing with the threat of recession, which looms large. We don't know how this is going to affect inflation, and we don't know how it's going to affect you. We only have guesses so far. With us this morning is Dr. Vivek Singh, a professor of finance at the University of Michigan-Dearborn. Good morning, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Khalil.
Absolutely. Last time we talked, it was only a threat. Right now, we live it, And I don't know about everybody else, but tariffs is a form of a financial war. And declaring war on more than 60 countries to me is like third world war, but economically, What do you think?
And that's true, Khalil. You're absolutely right. Like when we last met, it was more of a threat.
Yeah.
But a threat has actually been executed. And
yeah.
But having said that, I'm still not 100% sure whether this threat might be retracted, like the way things have been going. In 1 month, we have seen threats followed by some action and some retraction and some on and off sort of things. Okay, someday some countries are being put on tariff, the next day there's a pause, and then there are exceptions, exemptions. So but assuming that the things don't reverse, if the things remain the same, I couldn't agree more that this is totally very akin to having a financial war, almost equivalent of the Third World War.
Now, that makes it even worse if you have on and off, and you don't know that uncertainty, and the market is not gonna react, correct to it, and it just, we don't know what's going on. I'm in real estate, and we're people don't know what's going on.
I couldn't agree more, Khalil. Again, if we knew that these things are here to stay, you can do something about it. You can plan around these things. But if you don't really know, whether these things are going to be staying in place even a month from now or 2 months from now, and who knows, 3 to 3.5 years down the road, if we have a new president, even from the same party, whether these things are going to be continued. So how can anybody plan, especially the businesses or even consumers, when it comes to buying big ticket items? What should I do? Will I have a job? Can I afford this?
Sure.
And
sure.
Yeah, so it's across the board. People are worried, whether it's consumers or businesses or even the other countries' governments. What the hell is happening?
Exactly. Just to out of disclosure, I'm pro trade. I think trade is a wonderful thing. It allows commerce to really flow and brings people more together. And anything impedes that is really a problem.
Khalil, again, I think almost every economist, if not all 100%, but 99% of the economists, they believe that free trade is good. And free trade is good for countries, for consumers, for the governments, for the businesses, for everyone. It, as you said, it promotes trade, but I mean, we trade in the process of promoting trade, it basically brings up the output or the GDP and everybody becomes richer. Like it's
Sure,
a win-win
sure,
situation for
sure,
everyone.
sure.
And by putting these tariffs, you are definitely impeding the whole process of trading. And what President Trump is trying to do, basically just trying to reorder this whole trading system that we have seen in the last 80 to 90 years developed, and which has actually benefited the entire world, not just America. And in some ways, like America has benefited probably the most.
Yeah, yeah. You know, one economist I was listening to a while back was not rather a commentator, economic commentator. He said the problem that he had with what President Trump is doing is that there is no plan. There is no
Yes.
solid plan. Where are we going from here? And that's what he was really worried about the most is what is the plan? I mean, yeah, you can slap these tariffs on any country you want, but what's
Mhm.
the plan? What are the consequences?
Yeah. Yeah, Khalil, like that absolutely a valid point. I think that's worries a lot of us. Like, what is the end goal? Like with this, are we really trying to maybe renegotiate the tariffs with the rest of the world in American favor, as seems to be the masses which has come from White House and his team many times. Or we also have heard messages that we are trying to bring back production. We want to make everything in America. That
Sure.
also is being talked about. But
Hmm.
let's imagine it's the latter, like we want to bring back production back to America, and which seems like pretty much uh, like a laughable idea, if not
Yeah,
like an
yeah.
entire fantasy that we could start doing all kinds of things in America, say from very low ticket items to very high end items. I can understand that high ticket items probably could be brought back, and we will have some advantage. And in some sense, like we should have some manufacturing back, especially if it concerns the national security and all that. But like I don't see any point in like bringing back things which are trivial, like which are mostly consumed by consumers, like say uh, an item which is say $100 or less. I mean, I don't know like whether it's worth. I mean, it
Tennis
makes no
shoes or
sense.
anything like that, you know, they're labor intensive, you know.
Yeah, labor intensive things,
Yeah,
like it makes no sense to start making say
yeah,
the clothes that we are wearing right now, like in America.
yeah. You know, one thing that most people don't understand, and you know, please correct me if I'm wrong, is the fact that yes, you can bring some manufacturing back to the States. First, it takes a long time. Second, are we ready for it? Are we set up for it? Third, does it make sense? Because if right now we're paying $70 for a pair of tennis shoes that's made in Vietnam or somewhere, if we're gonna bring it here, that's gonna be twice the price because you
Yeah.
know then we're gonna have to deal with the environmental issues. Then we're gonna have to pay a lot more for labor and all of these things. That's gonna be a lot more expensive, you know.
Yeah, Khalil, that is what is the problem. I mean, if you look at, I think the what's being talked about, even if we talk about say bringing back the production back to US, you're only looking at certain sectors, like say maybe the production work. I mean, some employment may be generated, but how much will be generated? First of all, like that is again very debatable. Doubts are that it's going to only go up marginally,
Hmm.
and
Hmm. Hmm.
we are not talking about say going back to 60s that like one third or close to one third of the people are working in manufacturing. You can increase it very marginally, maybe 2 to 3%, maybe 4 to 5%. That too, as you said correctly, like it's going to happen over a long period of time. It's not going to happen say overnight.
Sure,
and
sure.
and maybe like certain companies will benefit, like steel may benefit, like I mean, but so some producers will benefit, some workers will benefit, but what about the consumers?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
consumers are a lot more in numbers, like so at the expense of consumers. So like what is the math? What is the calculus? You are looking at only the benefits, and
Hmm.
benefits are very small or tiny in relation
Hmm.
to the cost that everybody has to bear. Even in
Sure.
terms of like, and we are not even talking about like making the whole economy like less efficient in the long run, and like picking like screwing up the whole comparative market system where you're picking your winners. That is not the way the capitalism system works.
Yeah. I was listening to I don't remember his first name, but last name Cook, the chief of Apple, and he
Yeah.
said, we don't go to China only because of cheap labor. First,
Yes.
labor is not cheap in China. Second, he
Mhm.
said, we go there because they're set up. They have the resources, they have the know-how. They have what it takes to produce these electronics. If we can produce them here, we will, but it just we don't have this setup here. And it's going to take a long time to really do that.
Excellent point, Khalil. I mean, I mean, I, a few minutes back, I talked about like bringing back, say, very high-end production back to US. So iPhones or chips, they come to mind. And but it's also correct that like building those factories, building that know-how, it's going to take time. But more importantly, like these people have to be trained. You can't start turning these guys into, our ordinary workers into somebody who's very adept at making these chips or these iPhones. It's a very high skill kind of job. It takes
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
And how many of us are even ready for that?
yeah, yeah, yeah. The other issue, when I look at it in totality, what the president is doing, attacking universities, removing all of the money for research, and making it very difficult on foreign students to come here and flourish. This is where most of the highly qualified students come from different countries, and then you want to bring in manufacturing back here where you're really shooting yourself in the foot. I mean, you have to prepare all of that, and now you're doing that to education, and it's just like it's a contradiction.
Totally, Khalil. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. If you look at like, I mean, when it comes to trade, we don't just trade in merchandise or goods. We also trade in services. So right now, the focus seems to be focused. Everything is on trade, merchandise. But as you rightly pointed out, like we sell a lot of education. I
Yeah,
mean, we
yeah,
so that is part of the service where America has the advantage. So, and we talked about research. I mean, that's where, like, again, we have huge advantage. So, research, education, or this tourism or financial services. I mean, we are talking about all those things where the America has advantage. So, like, if we somehow like are able to even trim our current account deficit by maybe importing less, and but it will also come at the expense of exporting less. So we don't know, like, first of all, what's going to happen, but like let's imagine that if we continue to export the same amount but we import less, so we reduce the deficit, but what happens to your service sector by imposing these kinds of impediments? As you correctly said, like we are not, I mean, not only we are going to lose the talent, and not only we are going to like have lesser inventions, patents coming out from universities or these research labs, but you're also going to lose all this money that we are making from the rest of the world by doing this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really, really unfortunate. And you mentioned something, I like to expand on, and that's the fact that our economy has transitioned into a service economy several years ago. To do that
Mhm.
reverse, you cannot do it overnight. It's going to take time, you know. And I mean, that's what we're good at, and we should improve that and keep going instead of trying to reverse and go back to where we thought it was not a good idea.
Yeah. Khalil, like my guess is it's not just difficult, it's impossible. Like I
Yeah.
think this is how the natural way the economies evolve. Like you start from agriculture to manufacturing to service, and we have been doing these things, and because like we are very good at that,
Yeah.
we are,
Yeah.
and the rest of the world is good at what they are doing. Like so China or Asia or Vietnam or India, these countries are very good at manufacturing things, and we can let them do what they are good at and let us do what we are good at. Like so why uh, it's why in some sense like stop this gravy train which is benefiting everyone, like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This reminds me of the Soviet Union when they used to make those bulky VCRs, if you remember, video recording,
Yes, yes,
because
yeah,
they did not want to import it from somewhere else, and they looked
yeah,
really terrible. And then the Lada, the car, it was horrible looking.
yes, yes.
I mean, is that what we're gonna become? It's just difficult, really, to do that instead of, as you said, making things that we are really good at and let somebody else make the other stuff.
Yeah, Khalil, yeah, that's what is going to happen in the long run. Like if you're going to protect these industries from outside competition, you're going to end up producing stuff which is dated, shabby, like not as technologically advanced as it could be.
Yeah.
And so everybody has a bad deal, especially the consumers. Like, and we have to pay more money for except for something which is substandard.
Yeah. 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 It's unfortunate. What we're going to do is we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned.
A car accident can change your life in an instant. As a result of a car accident, you may become unemployed. As a result of a car accident, you may need a lot of medical treatment. People think that insurance companies are on their side. Why? Because they're giving them one or two benefits. Are they giving them all the benefits they deserve? How would one know unless you consult with an attorney? Call the law offices of Jumana Kiruz at 248-557-3645. 248-557-3645.
Behind the scenes, Michigan's public health team is working to make Michiganders across the state healthier. Bringing healthcare closer to home with mobile clinics, increasing access to healthy food through farmers markets and WIC, doing hearing and vision screenings in schools, helping families navigate healthcare challenges. Learn more about how public health workers protect us all at michigan.gov/public health. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Ziyad brand. Quality products from our family to yours. Ziyad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Dana, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziyad.com. That's www.ziyad.com. Ziyad, quality products from our family to yours.
Welcome back and thank you for being with us. We're discussing the tariffs. You know, a lot of people don't understand what tariffs are. And basically, tariffs are a tax. You're really imposing a fee on products that are, manufactured in a different country and then brought here. And the other countries are imposing taxes and a fee on the products that we have here. And again, we're just impeding the flow of commerce.
Yes, Khalil, yeah, absolutely. These are you can think of this as an additional tax that you already pay, but you won't be able to see that because the producers or the importers, the trading companies which are going to sell those imported goods to you will just add on as a part of the price. So you pay that.
Sure.
So that's what is going to happen. And eventually, in the long run, I won't call it long, maybe medium to long run, people will start switching when they say, okay, I can't afford a $2,400 iPhone. Probably instead of buying it every year, I'll buy maybe every 3 years. Yeah. And what happens to then Apple, which is manufacturing this, they are an American company. Or you can take many examples like Nike, as we talked earlier, an American company making shoes elsewhere. And even if we continue to manufacture them outside, let's imagine that we have to pay this duty, then the cost of the shoe becomes twice as much. Then eventually I will not buy those shoes. I will probably buy lower quality shoes, or I will not replace these shoes every 6 months or a year. I will. So it's I don't know how it benefits the consumers.
Yeah. I mean, we have to pay for it. At the end of the day, we have to pay for it. It's not the government, it's not anybody else. And I can see it. The other day my daughter was asking for something and I said, well, let's tighten the belt a little bit. I mean, yes. we're feeling it. One thing I would like to focus on is reallocation, meaning that companies or countries that are selling us something, and if we impose a huge amount of tariff on it, they start selling it somewhere else. Eventually, we could lose that market if they don't allow our products to go there, and if they want to send their products somewhere else.
Yeah, Khalil, I mean, that is the other side of the coin, that you can impede the things from coming to US But at the same time, other countries can do the same thing to you. Like they will put up their own barriers, as China has shown. Like they are going tit for tat. Like they will make sure that if their products are not coming to US, they will make sure that our products have a lot of difficulty getting to their market. So we lose that big market over there.
Yeah. And it might not come back.
Yeah, exactly. So that is another big point, that like getting into a market, it takes a lot of investment.
Sure.
So if you lose a market, like you lose it maybe sometimes for good, or even if you're going to go back, it's going to take a lot of money and a lot of time to get back to where you were when you left it.
Yeah. How does this affect inflation?
Khalil, like very straightforward. Like, I mean, the price of the goods increase that we import, like, so everybody pays higher price, and at a very basic level, the inflation is simply like rising prices. So, uh, but out here, like we're also seeing like inflation hitting us in another way, that people are losing confidence in the US dollar.
Yeah.
So if people are losing confidence in the US dollar, the dollar has been declining like since early this year. So anything that we're going to import in the short run, like that's going to cost us more, even if on not only we are paying a lot more for the same goods that we're paying earlier, but we're also paying more in dollar terms because the dollar is weaker. So that's why, like, I mean, it's and that in turn has implication for like interest rates. So we were hoping the interest rates will come down. If the inflation stays high, then interest rates don't come down, though that means whatever high cost of borrowing on mortgages or the companies are paying, that continues.
Sure. The Fed chairman today said he's not going to drop it, and the president was really upset with him. I mean, you can't force that on the board, and if for them to drop it at this time, it's going to be artificial. It's going to have really negative consequences.
Yeah, totally, Khalil. I mean, it will be. I mean, first of all, like that. I mean, it's not the right thing to do. I mean, given the way the prices have been going and the way the uncertainty exists, which points to the fact that we're going to have higher prices going forward. And the biggest thing that central bank is supposed to do is fight the inflation. Of course, they have other goals also, at least in the US, that they want to keep up the employment also a little high. But like if you have to make a trade-off between high employment and inflation, right now, given the state of the economy, I think inflation is a bigger worry. So given that, like there is no reason, and on top of that, I don't believe that president lawfully can direct the Fed chairman or the Fed to actually decrease the interest rates. And I mean, there is some talk about firing him, but even that I don't think is legally tenable. Like I don't think the president has the power to simply sack the Fed chairman.
Well, I mean, if he finds a way, he'll do it. So,
yeah. I mean, it's
unfortunately, I mean, one thing caught my eye the other day, and I don't think it has been investigated yet. And there has been some talks that they planned or a week ahead of, before to impose the tariffs and then retract them for 90 days.
Yeah, Khalil, you're right. But like, I mean, again, as you said, it's allegedly this happened. Like, I mean, it's at the current point, like it's merely in a speculation.
Yeah, it is. It has not been investigated. It's only allegations, and just because it surfaced online doesn't mean it's correct. But I'm sure some people read it correctly and made some money doing that, buying and selling. But and also that, I mean, goes to say the instability of the market. Like right now with the dollar, if the euro is a lot more expensive than the dollar, and I'm sure some people read it correctly and then went ahead and bought some euros and selling them and making money.
Yeah, Khalil, I mean, the single biggest factor which is driving the market these days is the tariffs. What the president is thinking about tariffs, what he says about tariffs. So you can easily make an argument that like by saying anything positive or negative, you can move the markets big time.
Yeah.
the way the markets are, like they're so jittery.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's
it's in theory, it's possible that like you can you can confide this about like what you have on your mind amongst your friends and family, and they can make tons of money. Yeah, but
sure. Sure.
for the time being, I think I don't want to make any judgment because I think
No,
this
no, no. It's only speculation, and it's not it's not.
speculation,
Yeah, it's not appropriate to
allegations, like
really. Yeah, it has not been investigated. We don't know how true that is. So
yeah,
it's only allegedly, and just because it is online doesn't mean it's correct.
it's correct. Yeah.
At the end of the day, we, the consumers, are going to have to pay for it. This is who pays for it. The issue is how long can they keep that going without really destroying the economy?
Yeah, Khalil, that is the long-term worry that I mean, the University of Michigan, that consumer sentiment index like hit almost like all-time low, like probably the lowest number and one of the second lowest number, if I remember correctly. So people are worried about what's going to happen to them. And in the long run, as we said, like it diminishes
Yeah.
the entire productive capacity of the US economy, which has been the envy of the world, like in terms of producing jobs and in terms of like raising the standards of living
Yeah.
for everyone. So that comes under a big threat if this actually somehow continues for some reasonable period of time.
Yeah, yeah. Historically, have we ever experienced something like that? We're imposing tariffs on so many countries.
I think something like this was tried in 1930s, if I recollect correctly. I think this happened in 1930s. I think it was Smoot-Hawley Act, and that actually, according to most economists' analysis, like that worsened the recession that we were experiencing, like in 1920s and early 30s. So something like that was tried, and every time I think there have been World Bank studies like where other countries have tried raising the tariffs, and every time the tariffs have been raised, it has always led to some decline in the GDP.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I said that like every time these tariffs have been raised by any country in the world, like that has almost always led to decline in the GDP.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And the uncertainty, it's taking its toll on everybody right now because we don't know what's
Yeah,
going to.
so that is even worse, actually. I mean, raising the tariff, okay, if we raise it by 10%, 15%, whatever it is, and be done with it. Like, okay,
Sure,
we know that
sure,
the entire
sure.
world can adjust to it, adapt to it. But right now, we have no clue whether it's going to be there, it's not going to be there, and how much is going to be there, and who's going to be exempted, what industries are going to be exempted, what are going to be protected. We have no idea. And on top of that, what's going to happen, like when we have the change of guard in White House, like
Yeah,
whether
yeah.
this will continue, this will not continue. So next 4 years, like what do the companies do? I mean, should I plan that this will be the way things will be like going forward, or this may easily be reversed?
Yeah. Out of fairness to President Trump, I mean, President Trump in his first term imposed some tariffs, and then President Biden did not remove them; he kept them. President Obama, I believe, imposed some tariffs. So he's not the only president really imposed tariff, but he's the amount of tariffs and the number of countries that reached and how it is being imposed. That's what out of question right now.
Yeah, Khalil, yeah, I fully agree that this hasn't happened for the first time, but whenever the tariffs have been raised, they have been raised, first of all, with some end goal, like which is very clear that, okay, we need to protect certain industries which are of have national security significance. Uh, In the case of, say, China, like if we think that they are a strategic rival, then we need to do something about it. So it's always targeted most of the time. And that's the only thing which works. And that's how President Biden continued what Trump started. And of course, it was actually started by even before uh, by President Obama. So that has continued. But now, like the scale and almost like universal tariff for almost every country out there, which is like unheard of. And like almost from like 2 to 3% tariff on average. Like now we are suddenly facing like 20% traffic, more than 20%. The magnitude,
Yeah.
how broad it has been, and how the magnitude, the sheer magnitude of the tariff is like mind-boggling.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your first your worst fear, or fears rather, as an economist, as a somebody who studies these things? What's your worst fear?
I think everybody will have to settle for like less of everything.
Yeah. That's going
I
to
mean,
affect
we will
jobs.
survive somehow, but like, yeah, we will have less of everything. Yeah, we'll be less efficient, but we will buy less of everything. And that's what is going to happen if these things become a permanent state of affairs.
Yeah. Is there anything I haven't asked you that people need to know about this topic?
Khalil, nothing comes to mind, but like I still remain hopeful, and I still believe that President Trump at the end of the day is a businessman. He knows that he can't have everything his way. So
Yeah.
in order to get some what he wants, he has to give. So there's a give and take. So I'm still hopeful that these 90 days that these tariffs have been put on hold on most countries, they will produce some good results, like for which will benefit not just US but also those countries. So things will see some sort of normalcy. Like there is some, I think some stability should come in 90 days. I remain optimistically. I remain optimistic on that front.
Yeah. Sounds good. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us. Hopefully things will work out, and then they find a way around it and solve it in a good way for everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Again, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Khalil, for having me.
Life for Relief and Development has now been rated as one of the best charities for humanitarian aid. Life's humanitarian projects span the globe, and Life is celebrating its 30th anniversary of providing essential life-saving aid to people and communities in 36 countries, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. Where there is life, there is hope. And when disaster occurs here or around the world, including being one of the first responders to the Turkey-Syria earthquake crisis, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. We are looking to help the earthquake victims, and we take 0% overhead on emergency donations. So please help improve these efforts. Learn more about our involvement to help the helpless and bring hope where it's needed most, and make your tax-deductible donation to Life for Relief and Development now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493. That's 248-424-7493. At Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic in Dearborn, we provide effective physical therapy sessions in order to limit pain and discomfort. Top Rehab provides physical therapy care for any diagnosis prescribed by a physician, and we regularly see and treat conditions such as stroke, TMJ, fibromyalgia, sciatica, joint pain, and more. We use a variety of pain management methods, including modalities, soft tissue mobilization, and therapeutic exercise. If you're in need of physical rehabilitation or physical therapy, get the highest quality health care at Top Rehab. Most insurance is accepted, and we're open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday 8 to 6, Tuesday and Thursday 8 to 5, and Saturday 10 till 2. Call for an appointment today at 313-846-0555. That's 313-846-0555. Choose Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic on Michigan Avenue in Dearborn. Life's too short to be in pain.
Every year in Michigan, approximately 3,000 people die of drug overdose. Today's drugs are more addictive and deadlier than ever before. Most street opioids tested contain a potentially lethal dose of fentanyl. Drug overdoses are preventable. Keep naloxone on hand. Together, we can change the statistics. Learn how to save lives at michigan.gov/SUD. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Welcome back, and thank you for being with us. This is Khalil Hachem with US Arab Radio. Thank you to Dr. Singh for being with us this morning to discuss tariffs. And we're going to move to a different topic. We're going to move to immigration, a topic that is evolving every day with different questions. And with the what the administration is doing. And with us this morning is Shahad Atiya. She is an immigration and international family and criminal law attorney and a professor of immigration at the University of Michigan-Dearborn. Good morning, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I love returning to the show.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Last time we were talking about different issues. Today we have a lot more development and questions to really cover. What's new and what do we need to know?
So the recent developments under the Trump 2.0 immigration policies that I've been hearing a lot of people have concerns about is the recent student visa revocations. So a lot of students have been reaching out saying, what happens if my visa does get revoked? Do I have any pathway to defend myself when that happens? And how should I deal with my international travel if I want to go home and see my family and loved ones?
That's for those who have a visa, student visa.
Correct. These are students that are studying here for a temporary basis. They have non-immigrant status. So they're going to finish their studies and then return to their home country.
That's the F1 visa, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So what's the recommendation here?
So a lot of people are required to keep their visas valid for as long as they are studying while in the United States. So always check your documents to make sure that something you read, a date that you read may have been misinterpreted, that everything is correct from the time that if you had worked on your student visa, all your approvals are correct. Because some of the information that I'm getting is that it's sometimes clerical errors that are getting people in some trouble. So that's the first step, is make sure all of your documents are valid, read them, review them one more time.
And if someone has an error in their documents, what should they do?
Sometimes they're able to correct that error. In some situations, it's on a case-by-case basis, and in some situations, we are not able to correct that error. So it depends on how that student's situation has been, and then we can advise them accordingly. Now, some other situations that have come up is that students get a notification that their visa has been revoked or terminated.
Okay, and then what should they do?
So first of all, read the reasoning. Sometimes the Department of State has indicated a reasoning that is due to your criminal background or an arrest that might have come up. And then contact an attorney immediately to see if you can handle that reasoning. If no reasoning is indicated on the revocation, you should also try to see what your rights are for future return to the United States by also seeing if you can speak to an immigration attorney immediately.
Are the rules clear, or is this like a moving target?
The rules are being applied in the way that they have been written. So the law has been out there that student visas and students that come here on student visas are here at the pleasure of the Department of State, and the Department of State has the authority to revoke a visa at any time for a reason or for no reason at all. So we're seeing the application of those rules more uniformly with this administration than in the past.
It seems that the common reason they're giving is somebody has taken part into the demonstrations in regard to the war in Gaza. Are there any other reasons that you've seen from your experience?
Yes, I've seen people that had the revocation reason listed as, for example, appearing on a criminal history check. I've also seen denials with no reason that is listed. So we don't know. And even if we do a freedom of information request, we may not know the real reason. For the students that are getting the criminal history notifications, after further investigation, I do want to say that people need to be careful because in the state of Michigan, many driving offenses are misdemeanor charges. And people are attending courts and thinking that they are going to pay a fine and get it taken care of. And in reality, they are pleading guilty to criminal misdemeanors that carry up to 90 or 93 days in jail. And more obviously, we are seeing the severe consequences of that misdemeanor leading to deportation and leading to some students not being able to even complete their education and degree.
Those with the student visa. How about those with the green cards? We have some students with the green cards and they're getting in trouble as well. Does that also apply? Secretary of State says, you know what, you're not welcome here anymore?
So the people with green cards are different because the Department of Homeland Security has to allow them the opportunity to go through the due process requirements if the department wants to take away that green card for any reason. And so people with the green card have a little bit more of an opportunity to investigate what is the evidence that is being used against them, and see if it's worth it for them to fight that case or not fight that case.
Could they be deported to El Salvador, for example?
The general policy has been that the United States government will try to deport somebody to a country that they have travel documents to, or a country that is their last habitual residence, the country of temporary permit to live in that country. And so the idea is that El Salvador shouldn't be able to take people from third party countries. So not US, not Salvadorians, but somebody from Lebanon, for example. And so we're actually following that very closely. We're seeing how those things are going to develop. As you may know, as legal scholars, we'd like to think that we know the answer to that, but we are still following that issue very closely.
Still developing, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because I was looking at the case with the person who was taken to El Salvador to jail and by mistake, even though the Supreme Court said you need to bring him back, and the administration basically said we're not going to, and I think, and maybe this is outside of the discussion of this segment, but this may be a violation of separation of powers. I mean, here's the court is saying bring him back, and then the administration said, well, we're not going to. Is this kind of unusual?
In the context of the work that we have done, it could be seen as unusual, but in reality, we have seen other examples of this, right? We have seen a lot of people. It might come to mind how we have taken people to Guantanamo Bay, and there's a separate process, for example, for people in Guantanamo Bay that is outside the laws of how we would treat immigrants, for example, in immigration court or in Article 3 courts.
Yeah. I mean, the logical question would be, what should stop this government from, or this regime from taking American citizens and putting them in Guantanamo Bay or sending them to El Salvador? And I think President Trump has alluded to something like that.
Yes, we've heard him say that.
Yeah. I mean, what's going to stop him from doing that? I don't understand.
We have to keep fighting for the courts to uphold the laws and to be able to say that there are certain protections that we are not going to get to give up at this point.
So in this case, if the White House said, we don't care what the court says, what could somebody do?
So we have seen frontline fighters that are taking up these very important cases that, as you have seen, are going to implicate all of our rights. And so these are really important cases, and it takes giants in the legal field to kind of put their forces together and say, we're going to take up this issue and fight on all of the people's behalf. So even though it's one person's case, we follow these cases closely because they're going to set a precedence for how we have the legal implications for the next probably 10 to 20 years in this country.
Okay. What's your recommendations to people with green cards? Should they leave the country?
So my biggest recommendation to people with our green card is to file for naturalization as soon as you qualify for it. You need to get your documents together. We have said this on your show many times before, which is that there are people out there that qualify for naturalization that are not taking advantage of that. So you can have the rights of citizenship, you can have a U.S. passport, you can travel outside the United States and really have the privileges of the U.S. citizenship. So go ahead and start with that first. The other recommendation is that you really should be thinking about not staying outside the United States for more than 6 months at a time. And consider that every time you come to a port of entry, you are subjected to questioning by Customs and Border Protection agents.
Okay. Yeah. The one question we keep getting is that if I'm coming back as a citizen, they ask me to take a look at my phone. Do I have a right to say no?
So you can refuse. U.S. citizens can refuse law enforcement from searching their phone, but that doesn't mean law enforcement will be stopped at that, right? So law enforcement can still search your phone. ICE and CBP, Immigration and Customs Enforcement and Customs and Border Protection have broad rights to search people's electronic devices at any port of entry. So that includes not just phones, but it's phones, cell phones, iPads, anything that's holding electronic information. So that's not just looking through it, but actually copying it and looking through the data as well.
Okay, contacts and data and all of that.
Contacts, that's text messages, anything that's on your media, any emails, things like that, anything that's on that device.
And lastly, are there still ways in which people can immigrate to the U.S.? I mean, there's a lot of apprehension now about that. What are the legal ways of coming to the United States?
Absolutely. So we get a lot of questions about this, and to be honest, from that perspective, things for me have not changed. I've been telling people, look, there are still ways for you to come to the United States. Is it getting harder? Is it getting more difficult? Are the stakes getting higher? Is it getting more cumbersome? Maybe, yes, absolutely. But there are still ways for people to come to the United States, whether that is permanently through employment or through family visas, or temporarily through non-immigrant visas, such as students, people with TN visas, and people for temporary, both agricultural and non-agricultural work.
Is there anything I haven't asked you that people need to know?
Not today. You've covered everything today. I love coming back, and I am here as a resource for people, and I would love to get out as much information as possible. Sometimes the information is not always the happiest of news, but we are here to help people make a plan so that they know their rights and they know how to handle things when it comes their way.
Okay, what's the best way to reach you?
You can reach us at atiyalaw.com. That's ATIYALAW.com, COM. Or you can call us at 248-951-2450. That's 248-951-2450.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We appreciate you taking the time to be with us, immigration attorney Shahad Atiya. We really appreciate you being with us.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hachem, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned.
Are you going to start a restaurant or grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Naji Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Naji Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design, new location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Naji Abood, 734-744-9796.
With more than 30,000 successful in vitro fertilizations, IVF Michigan is now ranked as one of America's best fertility clinics according to Newsweek magazine. IVF Michigan fertility centers are the recognized leaders in high-quality fertility care. With locations in Bloomfield Hills and 9 other cities in Michigan and Ohio, IVF has experts in all aspects of the field. A founding member, American board-certified Dr. Nicholas Shama, is one of the leading reproductive endocrinologists in Michigan and Ohio. He has performed over 20,000 successful IVF cases, and it's helped thousands of couples fulfill their dreams of parenthood. When it's time to get personalized care from Dr. Nicholas Shama at one of America's best fertility clinics, call IVF Michigan Fertility Centers in Michigan and Ohio toll-free at 855-952-9600. 855-952-9600. The U.S. Arab Radio Network is the largest Arab and Muslim radio network in America, broadcasting throughout the Midwest region Monday through Friday on WNZK AM 690. U.S. Arab Radio features Arabic and English language programming on every topic, from health, food, and culture to government, politics, and legal issues. Listen live to U.S. Arab Radio in Michigan, Toledo, Ohio, and Windsor, Canada on WNZK AM 690. And in Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia on WDMV 700 AM. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok. So join us every day on the U.S. Arab Radio Network and check out our website at www.arabradio.us.
Welcome back, and thank you for being with us. This is Khalil Hachem. I want to thank Dr. Singh for being with us. I also want to thank Ms. Atiya for being with us as well, discussing the immigration issue. Finally, I would just like to take a moment to, I did some research and just wanted to help you out with, for me and for you as well, is how does it really affect us as directly? How does it affect us when we're talking about if we end up possibility of a recession? And one of the things that are really important is try as much as possible if we can pay off our debts, or not to take on additional debts. It's very important to do that. Recession is not an easy thing. It takes a long time to dissipate. And what happened in the past few weeks, and the past, specifically few weeks, it really brings back bad memories of a recession, and we don't want to go there. Hopefully not. Hopefully that the president will find a way from now until 90 days to solve these issues, get with these countries that he wanted to get with, if that's the policy to do that. And then, end the tariff issue, and then find, economic solutions for all of these issues so we don't have to deal with it. Because if we go back and then impose the tariffs again after 90 days, then everything's going to be affected. The inflation, the prices, and the uncertainty, and all of that. And it's not a really, it's not a really good thing. So for us, in it's going to hit us in our pocket, and some people may lose jobs. Some people, it's just not a good thing. And hopefully that we won't get there. And we had hopes that President Trump, who is a businessman, hopefully he'll see that, and he'll see that this is something that that needs to be dealt with immediately. I know he was upset with the Fed chairman because the Fed chairman did not want to cut interest rates. And I hope that they find a way where they can stabilize the economy and then cut interest rates so we can get a breathing room. It is recommended that we put aside 27% of our monthly or our yearly income for an emergency savings if something happens. It's something very important to do. So I encourage you to have some savings that would last you a few months until things work out if we end up getting into a recession. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but you have to everything. You have to plan for what's good and what's bad. And hopefully it is good and we enjoy it. We enjoy the savings, but what we're talking about here is roughly $33,000 on average, according to experts. that we have to have saved in case things, get a little bit uncomfortable. The other thing is that we can always modify our habits of buying, our habits of spending, and it's a good thing to do. And I mentioned earlier when my daughter was asking me for something, and I said, you know what, maybe we need to think about this twice. I hate to say that, but you know what? It is what it is, and then we need to have a plan B. There's nothing better than having plan B. There's a lot of information on what we can do and how we can really prepare for financial tough times, and like buying in bulk, like the internet is full of tips how we can do that, how we can save money, how we can be aware of it so we know how we're spending and what we're buying. It's okay to go into debts for larger items if you're buying a home, if you're buying if you're buying a car that you use for transportation, if you are buying furniture, if you're buying something that is really has longer term value, but at that time it's not really recommended. I mean, you can do whatever you want to do with your money, but it's not recommended that you take out a loan and go on vacation. I know you need that vacation. I do need that vacation too, but it's not a really good idea. And this is one of the things that they're asking us, maybe we need to think it twice. Don't sell low. If you're in the market, in the stock market, and you can afford to stay in it for a while, you're in the market for the long term. Do not sell low because you're going to lose a lot of money. Allegedly, some people made money last week. A lot of people lost money last week. The losses, I think, were estimated at $3 trillion, but we don't know really what's going on in there. Diversify your portfolio. This is something also it's very good when you're investing. Don't put your money in one area. Don't put your money in one thing. Make sure you have a good discussion with somebody who can help you invest. This is something very, very important. So you need to talk to someone who can help you understand how to invest, what to invest in. And what I'm talking about is that I'm not a financial expert. So this is why you need to talk to your financial person. But one thing I have from my research, I found out that okay, stocks, mutual funds, whatever it is you invest in, they have different level of risk. Okay, and some of them are have a lot less risk than others. So if you diversify, this was told to me a long time ago when I used to work at the Ann Arbor News, is that diversify your portfolio, put 20% in high risk, 20% in medium risk, 20% in little risk, and 20% in something that has no risk at all. At least if something happens, you don't lose it. And that's where when something happens, people kind of panic, they sell it and they sell low and they lose that. You still have that stock. If it rebounds, then you're okay, you're gonna be okay, and things are gonna get better. So that's as far as portfolio. So you need to be really careful with that, and and these are easier said than done, and so always consult with somebody who can help you understand that. The other thing is plan ahead for major expenses. If something you're going to spend thousands of dollars on it, take your time, evaluate it, talk to some people about it, make sure you're making the right investment. And because it is an investment, whether it's buying a car or buying something else. That's all that I can think of right now. If you like to share with us other tips on how to prepare for a possible recession, please do so. Let us know. You can reach us on Facebook, or you can let us know via email as well, kh10@comcast.net. And you can reach us on Facebook as well, on US Arab Radio, to let us know what you guys think. And I want to thank you for being with us, and I want to thank our crew for just doing a great job. I want to thank Layla Al-Husni for establishing this radio to provide you this information. We're here to provide you the information you need to really be informed and make the right decision. If you think of a topic that we need to cover, please let us know. We'll be more than happy to cover it. I want to like to thank also our production manager, Mike, and thank you so much for listening. You have a wonderful weekend and a safe weekend. Hopefully next time we talk, this whole thing would be sorted out, and this whole thing will be solved, and we don't have to worry about it. We have plenty to worry about. So good. Have a good weekend. Bye now.